Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with Dusty McBalls. He is, he's a pretty great person. I hope he also has his own podcast called The Rainy Day Horror Show, where he tells a whole bunch of horror-themed stories, and he also gives you his perspective on a lot of, scary shit and conspiracy theories and whatnot. So go check out the Rainy Day Horror Show with Dusty McBalls, the Certified Cougar Hunter. Anyway, so he has an interesting story about a trail out in his area. Demons, spirits, whole bunch of shit. His girlfriend is very much, I would almost a medium, I guess. She can see things. So he has a whole bunch of stories. I talked to him about flat Earth, which I feel like I've been talking to a lot of people about the possibility of the Earth being flat. So it is what it is. I just find it extremely interesting. So. But yeah, he was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to have him back on for whether it's a Conspiracy Tuesday or just to talk some more shit. I really enjoyed talking to him, and go check him out. He's got a lot of things that he is planning on doing. So hopefully we get to witness a lot of that thing come to fruition. So with that, if you want to be featured on the show, hit me up at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com or my Instagram _the_weirdOnesAre. I'm most active on Instagram, so that DMing me probably would be the easiest, but emailing if you're not on Instagram also works. I answer all of my emails. So Facebook, Where the Weird Ones Are. And yeah, so also I just dropped my Etsy shop. So that is etsy.com/shop/wheretheweirdonesare. You get t-shirts, tote bags, shoes, all with the logo on it and other designs. So the woman, Emily, the fine art medium, I have been working on writing my comic book, and she's going to be illustrating it for me. She's making the designs for the t-shirt, so periodically there will be new designs. So, but yeah, if you want a good way to support the show is to go purchase stuff out on the Etsy shop. You know, there's even coffee mugs and tumblers. I made a shot glass, so that I'm probably gonna just buy that one for myself. But yeah, the t-shirts all come in different colors, but there's the logo is in different colors, but and all of those logos with the different colors, there's also t-shirts with other colors. It's not just that specific one that's in the main picture. So if you're interested in different colors, go check it out. You don't have to do the black and white, so that's pretty cool. The only thing is that I wanted to do if you're on my Instagram, I wanted to do that American flag one, but for some reason it kept coming up as it was too big. I don't know why that is, but I'll figure that out and hopefully have the American flag one on a t-shirt as well. So yeah, so if you want to support the show, go do that if you're interested. You don't have to. I'm not telling you what to do. So, but also like, share, and subscribe. That is another good way to help me spread this. And I just want to give a shout out to Down the Rabbit Hole for making a TikTok and a reel about me and my show. It was pretty great, and I appreciate you a lot, David. And I hope we can work together more on many a things. So I appreciate you, and please go follow __ down the dot rabbit hole __ He's a great person. He's become quite a fantastic friend, and I feel blessed to have him in my corner. So with that being said, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great night, and stay weird.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
Record on this. So you are Dusty McBalls, I hear.
Yeah.
How long have you been hunting cougars?
Oh, for quite a bit now. It's funny because like my ex was like 2 years older than me, and my girlfriend right now, she's like a year older than me.
Yeah.
So my family just jokingly called me like a cougar hunter. And so I have a hat at my house right now. It's on top of the washer, and it says cougar hunter right on it. So I just kind of just went with it and just rolled with it, and that's just my thing now. So
It's hilarious. So I just want to tell you, I listened to one of your episodes with my son in the car, and my son's 14. So your opening to your every episode, he was just like, "What the?" And he thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. He's like, "What is this?"
oh, that's so funny. I love that. I love that.
I don't know if he really gets into like the Reddit stories, because I know that's more of like because I have the hardest time navigating through Reddit and Discord and stuff like that. It's like super foreign to me.
See, that's how Twitter is for me. I don't use Twitter just because it, for some reason, is so confusing for me to learn. And so I just was like, I'm not even going to worry about Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter too. I don't have a Twitter because I tried to, I don't know, like 2014, I think I tried to have a Twitter, and I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So like, and then like I couldn't even find videos or whatever that people talk about, but I tried to follow people and whatnot, but it was weird. So I just gave up. Facebook and Instagram are pretty self-explanatory, and they're super easy. So
They are. I used to
So,
have a Facebook. I barely use Facebook now. It's
oh
just
my god,
mainly Instagram that I'm on.
yeah,
Instagram, and then I only go on Reddit for my horror stories, and then that's about it.
yeah. So I barely use Facebook as well. People like to argue with you about anything you say.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be like, Doritos are delicious. And people are like, no,
Mm-hmm.
the fuck they aren't, blah blah blah. Like, so
Yeah.
and it always happens to be people that you are like kind of close with, or you'll say something weird like Doritos are delicious, and somebody that you barely ever interact with will jump on there to be like, no, the fuck they aren't. They're so bad for you. Blah 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 blah. Well, I didn't say they were good for you. I just said they were delicious.
Yeah. I just
Something like that.
like ever since like the whole like political debates just took over Facebook, I was just like not going here anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Every because it's gotten so divided where you can't have any like any view of your own and people will hate you for it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what side you are. To me, for me, politically, like everything's wrong. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
whatever side you fall on. I don't like it.
And
Uh,
and that's something that I noticed in like our area is a lot of us are like fuck the government. Like
yes.
you guys are just we don't care about you anymore. And it's kind of weird to have that common ground because we're all so open-minded too, because you kind of have to be with what you do when you talk about conspiracies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You kind of have to be open-minded and willing to listen to another side of the story.
Right. Right. And and it's fallen to these days it seems like um whether you're like hardcore right or you're hardcore left, like
Mm-hmm.
those two groups of people don't want to listen to anything that
No,
contradicts what they believe.
no.
um I mostly so because I fall, if I had to label myself, I would have been conservative. But like if I had to, so I hear a lot more of like the left standpoint where they don't um want to listen and they end up crying or they'll
Mm-hmm.
attack you. But there's also people that are so far fucking right that are do the same thing. So like I don't know. It's a mess, and I think the more that we find common ground with one another, the better off we are, because you can still have your beliefs of the right and you can still have your beliefs of the left, and we can still
Mm-hmm.
coexist and get along. Like I just
No.
don't understand the arguing
Yeah.
and
I
the physical attacking that's been happening a lot lately
mhm.
just based off politics, you
Yeah,
know?
I think it's so stupid that like when like Trump was in office and then like Biden started coming in that whole thing and then people were like, "Well, you talk too much about Trump. I'm not going to be your friend anymore." Or it was vice versa where it's like you talk about Biden, I'm not going to be your friend. Like I think that is so fucking stupid because it like we have so much in common that like our political views should not get in between us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing for like previous generations. They didn't talk about politics with
Mhm.
people they were close with because of shit like that. And now
Yeah.
it seems like your politics are your identity now.
Mhm.
That's who you are, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's so different. But
Yeah.
anyways, so you have some paranormal stories, right?
I do. I do. I've been on a few other shows, so I'm gonna try. There's one really main one, The Trail, that I'm pretty sure you've heard about.
I
That
have.
I is my favorite story to tell. Sometimes I believe, even though it happened to me, sometimes I still believe it's fake. It's just because it was so weird and so like outlandish that even to me, it's just like, did that really happen that way? But
Yeah.
it did. And then I have a few other stories that I haven't told
Okay.
anybody, so I'll
All
give you a
right.
couple of those.
Dope. I have a story. I'm sure if you listen to Bizarre Encounters, there's
Hmm.
one story that I told in there that I still think is fake.
Yeah.
To me, that happened to me when I was 10 or whatever. But it's just I was like, is that real though? That could be a dream.
Hmm.
You know what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, wherever you want to start with your stories, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, cool. I'll start it off with something a little not as we'll save the trail for the last one. So
Okay.
when I was around, it was around 2019 when I was like 19, 18 years old. And because at my house, I was having just a little bit, I was just a, typical teenager, just fucking off, doing just batshit crazy things. And I wasn't listening to my parents. So I went and lived with my grandparents for a little bit. And one night, I'm going to sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night. Now I sleep with the hall light off and my door shut. Like complete darkness. That's just how I need to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And as the night goes on, I'm sleeping and I wake up. I don't remember what time it was, but I wake up, kind of sat up on my side, and my door was swung all the way open. And there was this tall black figure standing in the doorway. And it was like maybe like 6.5, 7 feet tall. And my grandpa's 6'3". So I just assumed it was my grandpa at the time. But from what I remember is it was this tall, kind of skinny black figure, and it had like its arms were almost all the way down to its knees, and it had like really, really long fingers. And when that happened and I woke up, I was still super groggy, so I just automatically assumed it was my grandparents. And I was like, whatever, I'll just go back to bed. Then when I woke up, my door was still wide open. So I knew it wasn't my grandpa, because my grandpa would have shut my door. And the only way he would have came down is if he heard me doing something, but like I was asleep. And so I went upstairs and I asked my grandparents, I was like, hey, did one of you guys open my door? Like what? And didn't shut it? Like what's going on? And they're like, no, we didn't go downstairs at all last night.
Wow.
And that same figure, because when I lived in Atlanta, I lived with my aunt. And periodically this figure, this spirit, whatever, will go away for a couple of years, and then he came back. And what happened was, this is really trippy. This one tripped me the fuck out. This one, like, it doesn't take it takes a decent amount to scare me, but for some reason this one just flew me off the radar. And I was sleeping. My aunt and uncle and my cousins, they live in Paris because he's works for Delta. So they're out in Paris right now. And they just came back for Christmas break because my family flew down from Minnesota, and we were all just at my aunt's house because she's got a decent house. And I'm sitting there, I'm about to go to bed because I have to get up for work in the morning. And I kind of have my arm, like I'm laying on my arm, and it's like outside of the covers. And I feel something weird, like this just impulse of energy grab my forearm, and I shot straight into a dream. And this dream, I was at my parents' house in my old room, and my door was swung open, and what I thought was my brother was right next to my bed, because I have a 13-year-old brother. I think he's 13. He's around 13. And I assumed it was him because I heard a voice say, hey, can I sleep with you? I got scared. So in this dream, I got up, moved over a little bit, and I was like, sure, yeah, you can come in here. And I started moving over, and I was like, wait, something's a little off. And I look over in the corner, and it's just this pitch black mass. And then I woke up out of my dream, scared shitless for a little bit. Then I was able to go back to bed. And when I went back to bed, my door was open like 2 feet. And I asked my uncle, I was like, hey, did Beckett or Ava, because they're still on Paris time, so they're like 6 hours ahead, I think, something like that. And I asked him, I was like, hey, did Beckett or Ava open the door and just not shut it? He's like, no, they weren't even up. I was up first, and I didn't even hear them up there. They just came right down.
No shit.
Yeah.
So the second time where you felt like you got shot into a dream, so it was just a mass. It didn't look like the first one at all.
It was just a mass, and it was like it was like this, like, you've seen Insidious, the first one, right?
Oh yeah.
Remember when the psychic is in Dalton's room and she's looking up, and you just see like the shadow or the
Yeah.
black, just this black mass in the corner of the room. That's what it was like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. My sister saw something like that when we were kids. I didn't see it, but she screamed and ran, and I watched her scream and run. So
Mhm.
I started running and screaming because I didn't know I wasn't going to investigate it. And
Yeah.
so, but that first encounter, it almost sounds like a freaking like an ape. So, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you chalk that up to be? Like a home visit from Sasquatch or something? Or
Maybe could have been that, or I don't know, maybe I was dreaming, but that it's just I don't know. I've never really thought of it. I just thought it was like a spirit that just said wanted to present itself to me, and that
mm-hmm.
was that. But yeah, it didn't look like it looked like an evil spirit. So like I don't know why he wanted to. I mean,
Okay.
maybe because around that time he might have been attached to me just because I was going through a tough thing with my family.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Atlanta around the second time it happened, I was also in a toxic relationship with my ex. So maybe he was just like feeding off that, and he only
Mm,
appears when it gets bad.
yeah.
But I don't really know. I just was like, this is weird.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird. It definitely seems like energetically, especially when we're in those states, like you're
Mm-hmm.
going through issues with your family and then you got your ex thing. Um, you can feel the energy just like leaving your body like all the time. You could wake up and be still exhausted, even though you're,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
got like your 8 hours or whatever, but you're going through such a hardship or whatever. You wake up tired, and
Mm-hmm.
it sucks. It's a shitty feeling, and I've definitely felt that before. I mean, I wouldn't call her toxic. I think we were toxic for each other, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good person. I don't think she really ever knew that she was really doing anything to me per
Mm-hmm.
se, but I mean, ultimately she was. She had me like so fucked up where I was forgetting things right after I said it. Like I could say like everything that I just said and I would forget it. Or
Mm-hmm.
like I could listen to you just tell your story, like when you transitioned from the first story to the second one, I
Mm-hmm.
could have just forgot the first one about that. So that's stress, like the levels of cortisol and the cortisol hormone in you
Mm-hmm.
can definitely fuck with a lot of other emotions that we possess. So um yeah, I experienced a lot of stuff when I was going through some trifling times. So
Yeah. And it's just weird because I didn't really have any experiences. Probably that was like the first big one,
mm-hmm.
because before that, like I was one night I heard stuff when I was at my old house back in Minnesota. I heard like stuff flying around in my bathroom randomly one night. And it was late at night. And I was the only one up. And it was just like I saw, like I got up to go see, but like I didn't want to go to the door because my dog's kennel was right next to it. So I thought maybe it was my dog. So I went up. They weren't doing anything. They were asleep. And just saw like little shadows of stuff in my bathroom. And I was like, I'm gonna go sleep in my brother's room now. And then once I went to my brother's room and started falling asleep, heard nothing
Yeah.
after that.
So you think a lot of things might be attached to your bedroom, maybe?
Maybe
But
that
this
could be
is,
it.
but then again, so you got that incidents, but then you got the two times that you were like in a dream state. Those are
Mm-hmm.
two different locations, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So so this other one that you're just talking about, is that in either of those two places,
No,
or is that
this
so this is a third completely
yeah,
different spot?
yeah. This was the
Okay.
house that I grew up in New Prague.
Okay.
So
So something is following you around, is what
yeah.
is sounding like to me. Although the first two that you spoke of kind of feel like a dream state, but I feel like um I feel like we get put into like dream states or to make us think that something didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
this whole thing is strange and
mm-hmm.
hard to like intellectually navigate and explain. So
Yeah. When I even because I on average every single night I get 3 to 4 dreams. And
what? No way.
yeah, and 90% of them are like premonitions of like what's to come in the future. So I because my
Do you keep a journal? Like a
I
dream journal?
I write it down in my notes on my phone,
Yeah.
but like I asked my girlfriend, I was like, I am getting all of these like weird dreams. Like when we first started hanging out and getting to know each other, there were like 6 different instances where I was like, we were here like together. Like I dreamt about this. And she's like, maybe you do have a little bit. Well, she's like, you could be like psychic, maybe in like the dream like state and world, because I also found out I can lucid dream and I accidentally found that out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so one of my good friends from high school, her grandma's a psychic. So I asked her, is like, could it be possible if I'm maybe a little bit psychic in that, you know, region? She's like, it's very well possible. Cause like I'm the only person that I know that gets like 3 to 4 dreams on average, and I can remember all of them.
You can.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So there's times where I know that I had a dream, but I can't remember it. Like I'll wake up remembering it, and then as soon as I like move, I forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's this one I don't know where this came from, but I had this dream this one time where Michael Bublé and Kevin Spacey were doing a futuristic musical together. And the entire time I'm like watching this happen, I was like, this is so weird. Why would Kevin Spacey and Michael Bublé be doing a musical together? This just doesn't make sense.
That's fucking hilarious. Did it happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish it would have. That would have been
that would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Especially where Kevin Spacey's like blacklisted from Hollywood now. Or I don't know if he still is, but there's something weird with him. But that happens with a lot. Once you start making that kind of money, you tend to like be like, I can do whatever I want, kind of thing. And then it turns out you can't really do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's why I don't trust politicians or billionaires.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what they did to get that money.
Exactly. It's funny how you have somebody go into Congress with a net worth of, let's say, 100,000, and they've been in Congress for 5 years, and then all of a sudden their net worth is $1 billion. It's kind of strange.
It is.
So, what would you say out of those experiences did you ever feel like get like set in a state of fear of and any of those incidences?
The second dream that I had with that door open, that was like, because it was weird, because like I was on the verge of falling asleep, but I was not fully asleep yet. And I felt this random just surge, like 2 hands, like death gripping my forearm, just of energy, just gravitate right into my forearm. And I shot straight into this. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I woke up, I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I need to breathe for a moment.
Yeah. When you woke up, did you feel like anything like did you feel like the residual from the forearm grab?
It lingered for a good 5 minutes. Like I felt it. And I also felt like the entire time after that I was watched.
Wow.
And it took me a little while to fall back to sleep, but yeah.
I could see that. That would I'd probably end up being awake for a bit after that too. I don't know if I'd be able to go straight to sleep.
Yeah.
So, whenever I'm ever I'm been scared, I can't go. I can't even.
Well, like, so before I'm gonna save the trail story, but one night after we were leaving the trail, because my girlfriend, she's extremely clairvoyant, she practices Puerto Rican magic, she's just a very spiritual person. And we have like 3 little kids that they're just attached to us, they follow us wherever we go. And
oh wow.
So when she came over, she started picking up on random stuff. This is a little little tangent off of the tangent I was already going on.
Okay.
She already started picking up on stuff. And I used to, before I even met her, I would hear somebody walking up and down my stairs because I'm right next to him at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just randomly, just walking up and like I would hear it and I'd go to my parents the next day, say, hey, were you guys walking around? Like, no, we weren't up. I was like, yeah, it'd be a little weird if you guys were up at 3 a.m. But I digress. Yeah. So when we like after a month of seeing each other and she started coming over, she ended up picking up on, I think, like 4 spirits that wander in my house. There is my great grandpa who died from is either colon cancer or pancreatic cancer. I can't remember which one. It's the one that when you get it, it's like too late to figure out to like stop it. And I think it's colon cancer. But he ended up dying from that in 2002. And he will come through just periodically. He just watches over me and makes sure everything's going okay. And then I have another one that if we're eating downstairs in the dining room at like around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we call him Dash. He will stand at the bottom of the stairs and will just sprint up the stairs repeatedly until we follow him. And for some reason, he always will go into my closet. And whenever I try to talk to him, he just doesn't say anything.
Huh.
And then I have another one in my closet. And my girlfriend, what she says that usually, so she's like my eyes and ears when it comes to this stuff. Like I can see a little bit and I can hear a little bit, but I can't do it consistently as she can. So, and her rule of thumb is usually if it's crouched, it doesn't want to be noticed. And they are usually more evil than the ones that will just walk around or pass through our realm. And the one in my closet, the other one in my closet, for some reason, he sits right up in front of, because I collect horror figurines.
Yeah.
And he'll sit right up in front of those and just crouch and just watch me. And I've tried talking to him, won't say a thing, doesn't say anything. Like if my great grandpa's here and she was here, I would be able to talk to my great grandpa, no issues. But it's so funny. Now I'm going back to what I was going back before about the trail. One night I was just pissed scared after the trail. And I'm laying in my bed about to go to sleep. This is the first time I've ever slept with the light on. And because I have a little lamp right next to my bed, and I turn it on and I'm falling asleep. And this female says my name. And I shoot up and I was like, bitch, I am not fucking doing this tonight. Leave me alone. Well, come to find out, her grandma, yeah, I think it was her grandma that passed, sent her, we call her Birdie because that's what she likes to be called. And she's like our little protector for when we go on like our adventures, just to protect, because for some reason me and her were just really drawn to really fucked up places where just a lot of bad shit happened. And I don't know why that is, but that's just where we go. And she's like, I don't know who Birdie is. She might be a Puerto Rican deity or something, but like she's here to protect us. I was like, oh shit. Well, I called her a bitch the other night and I was like, can you apologize to her for me? But yeah, that was awful. That night, that was compared to the first, or not the first one, but the second time when I fell asleep and felt that thing grab me.
Yeah.
It was probably worse than that. I've never been scared that bad in my life.
Wow. So when she came, you could see her or you could just hear her?
I could just hear her.
Okay.
And I can only occasionally see things. There's only one other time where I officially saw something.
Yeah.
And that was when we went to a psychiatric ward, or like a mental asylum is where it was.
Yeah. So you can't see Dash. Your girlfriend is the one that's seeing Dash in the other thing that's in your closet.
Yeah. She's the only one that can see him.
Okay. And she can physically see your grandfather? Or is it your grandfather or your great grandfather?
My great grandpa.
Okay. And does he help you? Like, does he, when you speak to him, does he give you advice, or like, is it like a full on conversation? And is it like through her?
Yeah, it's through her. She's okay. Yeah. And it's funny because I got my face tattooed and he's like, He's like, you fucked up your face. And I was like, well, did you see my other grandpa? He wasn't too excited. He's like, yeah, I noticed him. It was so, he's just so funny because he likes to just mess around. Like, I'll
Yeah.
leave my recording equipment on sometimes. Well, not like, I'll just leave my microphone on and I will look over and I'll see, because whenever I speak into my microphone, right next to my dial
Yeah.
to make my voice clear or not, it lights up green. And sometimes he'll speak into it and it'll light up green, yellow, red, or whatever, just randomly throughout the. He used to fuck with my computer and just turn my computer on for no reason.
Did you guys have a relationship? I don't know how old you were in 2002, but did you guys have any kind of a relationship before he passed?
We did.
Yeah.
There are pictures with me and him. He died. So what, 2002? I was 2 around the time that he died. So
Okay.
from what my grandma tells me, because I don't remember that far back,
All right.
she told me like every time I was over, he'd always play with me. We'd always do stuff. So we did have a little bit of a relationship before he did pass.
Okay. That's good. That's cool. Would you say that he's probably like a spirit guide now at this point?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I mean, we're still, it's kind of weird because it's like, even though I knew him in my life, he's passed on. So I'm like, I don't really remember a whole lot of them. So I'm still trying to get to know him through that whole, like, through that
Yeah.
whole like realm. So he will like, he'll joke around. He'll tell me like, if I have a question, he answers it. Like I asked him one day, I was like, is it peaceful? Like, what's it like on your side? He's like, it's the most peaceful thing I've ever been in. He's like, it's awesome over here. So
Nice. Nice. So
yeah.
I have kind of like the same situation in a way. I can't remember why my great grandmother died. Like I can't remember the reason, but I was like 2 when she passed as well. But I know that my mom always told me that she would run her fingers through my hair all the time because she loved my hair. And she always said that I had beautiful eyes and stuff like that. And from since I started this podcast, I'll backtrack. In high school, I had a girlfriend who just happened to be also Puerto Rican, who used to tell me like random shit about like the ghost realm, and she ended up picking up on my great grandmother. She described how she looked, never seen her before, described how she looked and everything, and said that she's been following me. And there was another time where I was laying in bed and I was talking to her on the phone. And she's like, "There's somebody in your bedroom with you." And I was like,
Oh wow.
"What?" She's like, "He's sitting on your brother's bed." And my older brother had a friend who committed suicide, shot himself in the mouth. Actually, I don't know if it was committing suicide, but I think he accidentally shot himself in the face.
Mhm.
But anyways, so he said that she's like, he's just there. He's not going to bother you, but he has a hole in his face and he's there to watch your brother. And at the time I didn't really like pick up on that, but it's weird. So she was the first one to tell me that my great grandmother was around. And then I started this podcast and I started talking to mediums and shit like that.
Mhm.
And they're all picking up on her now. Just and through Zoom, like
Yeah.
you and I are right now.
Mhm.
Are you interested in t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, tumblers, trucker hats, wall art, and tote bags with unique designs that are AI and paranormal inspired? Bro, the fuck I am. Well, check out DeeperDown.store. That's .store for all you slow people out there. I mean, I'm one of them. So I get confused when it's not a .com too. So I mean, no bias, but sometimes shit happens. So I gotta remind you that it's .store. Deeper Down is a merch store. It is for 3 different Instagram accounts, which is _ down the rabbit hole _ I believe it's 2 underscores. Also Omega Vision AI and Chuck's _ thoughts. They are all run by my good friend David, and I definitely think you should check it out and check out his merch store here. I actually have a hoodie headed out my way. If I forgot to mention they do have long sleeves as well. So for those who are in colder climates like myself out here the fuck in Maine, um, these designs are dope as fuck. I mean, you just go to the website and you'll see for yourself. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory just looking at it. So please help support our paranormal community. And if you use my code, you get not 5, not 10, not even 15. You get 18% off of your purchase. Type the coupon code Kevin's Weird 18. That's Kevin's Weird 18. That's my name. I'm weird. I'm weird as fuck. So, go to www.deeperdown.store or the Etsy, which is etsy.com/shop/deeperdown, and use my code upon checkout. Come get weird. Come stay weird. And have a blessed motherfucking day. So I find that super interesting. And I did do you know anything about Reiki healing?
I do not.
So I guess it's like an energy healing where you're just it's they don't have to touch you. Sometimes they will. But it's like a cleansing of your chakras and stuff. So I did that, and she said while I was there, she said that my great grandmother was with me, and she feels like she has become one of my spirit guides.
That's crazy.
So,
That's crazy.
so from all of these people telling me that my great grandmother is my spirit guide, and I have yet to actually try and speak with her. So I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass, but I will. I just fucking dude, I work so much and stuff like that, and then I got the kids, and I'm just trying to keep everything together. But I know that she obviously wants to talk to me, so I need to do that. But
Yeah.
that's so great that you actually get to have conversations with your great grandfather. That's pretty cool for you, man.
It is. It's kind of weird. It's just like I never realized how interested I was in like the paranormal or just like just anything horror related, whether it's conspiracies, UFOs, true crime, or whatever it is. Like I didn't realize how much I loved it until I started podcasting. And now, because I met her just completely on a whim, just it was weird on how we met because we ended up meeting off of Bumble. And she didn't tell me that she saw anything or anything like that until the night of the trail, which was like our second date, and it was on Valentine's Day. And it ever since then we've always just gone on these like weird like horror binges to like haunted places. Like we went to a witch's graveyard, allegedly a witch's graveyard in southwest Minnesota. We went to this mill where for some reason the kids that break into this abandoned mill always want to go to the 10th floor. And when they go to that 10th floor, they just, for some reason, fall through because it's really, really old, and they'll just drop completely, just drop 10 stories down, and most of them like die. So there's a lot of things trapped there. And then we've been like the Anoka Sane Asylum. We went there. This is a weird story because right now it is labeled as a a veterans like living area, like vets live there. And when we went there one night, I was going to like we were just driving around trying to find the cemetery where all these patients were buried. And so we're like, well, we can't find it right now. So we are on the other side where it's supposed to be, because it is literally right across the street from the Anoka High School. Like,
wow,
it is weird. And it took us forever to find it because there's no sign. And this was like March. So there's still snow on the ground here. And we're like, well, we can't find it. Let's go where the veterans place is because it's probably over there because that's where the asylum used to be. So let's just go over there. So we pull in and we see like every other building is abandoned. And it's like around a big cul-de-sac. And I think it's like 8 buildings. So like the first 4 are for the vets. And then as we're driving around, I'm taking photos and stuff like that. And then I go into the other side of the cul-de-sac. And you can kind of go behind and like see stuff down there because it runs right next to a river and you can walk down there. Well, while I was back there, I found people getting marched out of like a creeper van, a white creeper van, no windows, nothing. And they were shackled and they had navy blue jumpsuits on.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And so I do a little bit more digging and I found out that they actually house like killers that can't stand trial, that plead insanity. They go there.
What?
Yeah, and I
No
found that
fucking way.
yeah, and I found that out because I wanted to have I wanted to interview a killer for my channel on like I think it was he like got he just got out of jail for stealing his like sister's car and he went and shot his entire family. And he said that he was hearing voices and that's what caused him to kill his entire family. So he
Oh
was being
shit.
held, yeah, he was being held at the Anoka Sane Asylum.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
So you stumbled on this the basically the sheriffs or whatever marching these guys into wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna take a quick I was like, hey, I'm gonna take a quick photo. I'm just gonna hope that they don't see it. So I stuck my phone out the window, took a photo, and I just peeled out of there real quick because I was like, I'm not gonna get involved with this.
That oh wow. So
Yeah.
and then so you got so what you say the first 4 floors are for the veterans?
The first 4 houses, it's like these
Oh,
big,
how oh okay,
huge,
houses.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mansions that I think there's 8 in the cul-de-sac, and like the first 4 are for the vets. And it's like almost like every other is like abandoned. And like when I was taking photos of the abandoned buildings in
I
the
got you.
cul-de-sac, I caught some pretty interesting photos of ghosts looking at us through the windows and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So so these are all right. So because when you first started telling the story, I was picturing one building for some reason, and I know you didn't say one building. Um, so it's just a bunch of houses around a cul-de-sac. Is
Basically, yeah.
basically, and they're
Yeah.
huge. They're
Yeah,
big.
they're yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, so are these the ones that are for the veterans? Are they like fucking what am I trying to say? Like a nursing home
It could
kind
be
of thing?
that's what I was thinking. Maybe like if they suffer from really bad PTSD, it might be like a rehabilitation center
Oh,
for them
okay.
or something like that. I didn't really dig too much into that. I was more interested in the whole like, why in the fuck are we seeing people being shackled walking into a house with navy blue jumpsuits?
Yeah, it's weird that they're in a house
Yeah.
too.
I
Like,
don't I don't know if it's like low security or maximum security, but the dude that I was looking at to have on my podcast, he like had 5 counts of murder. So like I assume, and he's being held there. So I assume it's pretty bad.
yeah, yeah, that sounds like a bunch of fuckery to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no, is there like, is this like a gated like area? Like, is there's nothing like no border, no
No,
fence, nothing in this? Oh,
no, no. You
wow,
can literally drive in it, and drive out the other side. And on the other side, there's just a normal neighborhood.
huh?
Like there was this other women's facility over like a few towns over in Shakopee, and like they never had, I can't remember, I don't know what security level it was, but they never had barbed wire or like fencing around it. Never. Up until when I moved back up to Minnesota and we went back there because there's this really good Mexican restaurant over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we went over there to go eat. And I was like, when did they put up the fencing? And my mom told me, she's like, somebody allegedly was able to escape. So they had to put up all the fencing. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll wait till somebody escapes and then we'll put
Mm-hmm.
up fences. Like, oh my god, dude.
And that one is also in the middle of a neighborhood. So it's just weird. And it's funny because our maximum security prison up here is in Stillwater, and that actually goes underground. It doesn't go above ground. It goes like, I think it was like 5 levels in the ground.
Oh no shit. That's
Yeah.
interesting too in itself.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of conversations about buildings that go underground lately, which
Mhm.
is weird. And now I'm having a conversation with you
Yeah.
about a building going underground. um wow, man, that is ridiculous. So you guys went, was she with you? Was your girlfriend with you when you went and saw these 4 guys?
Yes.
I wonder if she was sent to you, like if you believe in a higher purpose or
Mhm.
whatever, or a creator of any kind.
Well, it's weird because when I literally, like, before I left Atlanta, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna really hit my podcast. I'm gonna start because I don't want to just do podcasting. I also want to make a movie eventually, and like I want to
I want to
explore.
make a movie. I'll make a
Oh,
movie with you.
bro, I see. Like people thought Terrifier was bad, bro. When I come out with my movie, it might be that bad. It might be up
Dope.
there. So
Dope.
I'm excited. I really want to get cracking on it. I haven't really wrote it down like a script or anything,
Uh-huh.
but I kind of want to make it like a silent, like slasher or serial killer or like gory kind of movie that's shot like how they shot the first Saw. When I think now, I don't know if this is true. I read it somewhere that it was actually so low budget that they shot it in one room the entire movie.
Terrifier?
No, Saw, the first Saw.
Oh, Saw. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I want to do something like that, except I want to make it a silent horror slasher serial killer gory movie is what I want to do.
So when you say silent, you mean no talking, no noise,
Mm-mm. Well, a little
or
bit of
just
kind of
like the noise of the killing?
that kind of stuff, like kind of like how they shot A Quiet Place, because that's technically a silent film.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a lot. They do sign language and they whisper.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I get. All right. All right. Well, I hope you do that, and I
me
would like
too.
to see it, man. That would be
That'd be
fucking
fun.
dope. That would be sweet. I'd be like, I know a movie maker.
But
uh,
yeah, right before I left Atlanta, I was like, I'm gonna go exploring. I'm gonna do all this stuff. Like, I need to get out there, and it like lets me not commit like other heinous crimes. It lets me stay out of trouble. Mine is breaking in, entering some abandoned buildings, but
mhm.
that's a lot better than other stuff that people are doing. So
Yes, yes. So you met her while you were still in Atlanta?
I met her like a week after I moved up here.
Oh, okay. I got you. I
Mhm.
got you. Um, and she, other than getting into abandoned buildings, she keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah,
That's good.
most of
That's
the
good.
time.
How long you guys been together?
We've been together for roughly around like 4 months.
Oh, okay.
We started talking 5 months ago, but like officially we started dating like 3, 4 months ago.
Okay. All right. And everything still seems pretty good.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Nice. I like to hear that shit.
we never argue.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
That's
so much fun.
beautiful.
I love it.
Oh man, that sounds so peaceful. And
Oh, it
she's
is.
into the same shit as you. So,
Mhm. And
dude,
what's even better, she'll let me fuck off for like, I don't know, like 6 hours if I just want to go do my own thing. She's like, okay, cool. Like I don't have to like check in or like do anything. I could just go. It's
yeah,
so nice.
that is nice. That is nice. Oh my God, women.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're not. But that can go for us too. So.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
So you guys go on a lot of adventures together in the short time
Mhm.
that you've been together. That's pretty dope too.
We were
Uh,
going out like every weekend, just
yeah.
one place every weekend. And we stumbled onto the trail by accident.
I love this story, by the way, the
You
trail
do?
story. So whenever you're ready to get into that I'm down.
I'm ready for it now because it's a little bit of a lengthy story.
Okay.
So, for the people that haven't heard it yet, when I first met my girlfriend, it was on Valentine's Day and we went to the Stone Arch Bridge in Minneapolis. We hung out there for a little bit. She got ballsy and sat on the ledge, and it's like a 100-foot drop. Don't know why she did it, but she did it. And we're like, well, it's like 10 o'clock and we don't have work tomorrow. Let's go do something else. And I was like, I have an idea. Why don't we go to this trail that I know, and we can just walk down it and just talk and, hang out. And so we got to the trail and we pull in and calm, everything's perfect, right? And we start walking. We maybe get, I don't know, 50 yards into the trail, and she stops, just dead stops. And she looks at me and says, do you see that person on the trail? I take my because I had my flashlight out on my phone, and I was like, girl, there's nothing there. And she's like, there's a man standing if you're looking at the path on the right-hand side, and he's just looking at us, and he is mean because she can read auras.
Right.
So, and she's like, he is just mean. And as we are like, and then I was like, well, let's just turn around. I don't want to deal with this tonight. Let's just go back to the car, and we can go hang out somewhere else. So we get back. As we're walking back, we hear like this running around on like in the trees on the left hand, on the right hand side of the path as we're walking back to my car, and just running around, and it looked like this black little blob just kind of floating around, and it was gone. It was there 1 second and it was gone the other. And she's like, that's a dog. Like, she can see animals too. So she's like, that's a dog. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm just like going along with it, trying to get to my car and not shit my pants. So, and as she was telling me, I was like, so I asked her, I was like, what does the dog want? And she's like, I think he wants us. I think that's his owner, and he wants us to help his owner. So we're like, okay, whatever. Let's just go somewhere else. So we drive away, and we end up going to this hockey arena parking lot, talking for a little while, and then we went on our way. And when she got home after I dropped her off, she started doing some digging on the trail. Well, from what she found out, on that trail, there used to be a family, and the guy that she saw was Carl, and she saw a picture of Carl on the website of like the Lakeville website, whatever, City Hall website.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she sent me a screenshot, and she's like, this is the man that I saw. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes. I was like, what else did you find? And she's like, well, his daughter, on their house that they had at this trail, it's called Ritter Farm Park. It's like 482 acres of just land, and they owned it all. And so this house, when his daughter would go down the basement, she would feel stuff touch her, brush past her, and just a lot of spooky shit. So we're like, well, let's go tomorrow. We'll go to the city hall, the library, and we'll figure it out. So we first went to the library. They had nothing. We went to the city hall thinking like, oh, it's part of the town that I'm in, so it'll just, like, they obviously have to have something.
Right.
Had nothing. So then we went to the town over. We went to their library because it was like the whole county. They had records of the whole county, and they had records of the parks and all that stuff. So we went to them, and we were looking, nothing on that park. So as we were leaving, we ended up coming across the sheriff, because they're like, hey, is there any way that we could get into the library and stuff like that? And she's like, well, what are you guys looking for? So we ended up getting this sheriff hooked into our story that was at the library. And she's like, this is what I'm going to tell you guys to do. She's like, go to the National Research Society in St. Paul at the Capitol. You can find stuff probably there on it. And if it's not there, go to this place in Hastings where you can look up the plot number, the deaths on that land, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, cool.
That is a helpful sheriff.
It was. She was very awesome, and she got intrigued by everything. And
like, she probably had something happen to her in her lifetime where she was like, I wonder if this shit is really going on.
Probably.
You know? So when you telling her the story, she's just like, dude, I watch this shit all the time. I watch Zach Baggins and blah, 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 blah. And so she was probably just like, whoa, wow, this is a crazy story. But anyway, she pointed you to where again?
The National Research Society and this place in Hastings where you can look up the plot numbers and who died on there and like the whole history of the land.
Okay.
So this was probably, I think we were doing all this stuff. We met the sheriff on like a Thursday, and then on a Friday, we went to the to St. Paul to the Research Society, and then we went to Hastings. So we get to St. Paul, we're at the Capitol, we're starting to look through the records, we're having people help us. Well, we found out, like we knew from just researching online about the park itself from like the Lakeville department of everything. We found out that he had 2 daughters. Was it 2 daughters? I think it was 2 daughters. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but I know it was 2 for sure. And so we find out at St. Paul that he had 2 daughters, typical. And then we also found out that he had 2 sons that was never listed.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird.
And then they showed us these like records of my town from like the 1800s. And we found out that Carl's name he didn't own the land. Okay. His brother's name was on the land, and his brother gave him the southern part of that trail because it goes like, I think that trail, it used to go for like that whole park was like probably like, it was 482 acres and it goes all the way up the side of the highway. So it's a pretty big piece of land. So he gave him the entire the southern half. Yeah, no, the entire northern half, and he kept the southern half. And so we're like, well, that's weird. Like, I wonder if he was tied up in something that he couldn't, like, just didn't have the money to buy it all, or what. So after Carl was given the northern part, we couldn't find anything else on him. Like no death, like obituary, no death certificate, no birth date. So like I had to kind of piece together like everything that, like what happened. And same thing with his wife. No obituary, no death certificate, no birth date. And one of the ladies that was helping us at the library in St. Paul, she was like, sometimes the only way that they probably don't have a death certificate is that they weren't baptized, or they were so evil and did so much bad shit that they didn't want to acknowledge them at all. So we think maybe he did some like really messed up shit, and that's why his family's just like kind of like just couldn't find anything on him.
Yeah.
And so it left kind of got a little bit of our questions answered, not really.
Yeah.
But it really didn't get crazy till we went to the place in Hastings. And when we got there, we looked at the plot number. We found out that this guy owned the land before Carl's family bought it. And he bought it from a guy before him. So this land here has been like, bought and sold for a really long time. So when the guy that bought the land before Carl, he actually died on that land. I can't remember if it was from an aneurysm or heart failure. And then Carl bought it from them. He had it for a little while, and he sold it to the Ritters, who now, well, don't own it anymore, but the park is named after them. It's called Ritter Farm Park. And they bought it from him, and he lived in the house on the land and just kind of helped out a little bit, but he was old, so he really couldn't do anything. And I can't remember, I don't know, because it was so long ago and we didn't print out the sheet. I can't remember if he, like how he died on that land, or if he died, I can't really remember. But the Ritters, this is where it gets really, really trippy. The Ritters, 3 of them died on that land. 2 of them died from a brain aneurysm, and 1 of them died from heart failure. And that has been like a reoccurring theme for the people that bought that land. So I didn't think it was just a coincidence. I thought it was like maybe there's something truly going on here that's beyond our realm. And so we find that out, and then we're like, well, maybe this this is where it gets a little creepy on our part, because we're like, well, we know where his daughter lives. Let's just shoot her an email and see if she can talk about, her dad or whatever. And no response. So that didn't work out.
Yeah,
So
that sucks.
yeah. So I was like, well, worst case scenario, let's just go talk to him at the fucking trail. Like, we're already here. Let's just go talk to him. So one night we went to go talk to him, and we walk out there, same spot, same exact spot. And he's
creepy.
like, it was really creepy. And he said, why the fuck are you guys back here? He's like, you guys shouldn't even be here. And we're like, Carl, we just want to know what happened. Like, just tell us what happened. And he's like, no, I'm not telling you anything. Like, I can't tell you anything. So like, well, this is stupid. So we're walking back to my car, and we're sitting in my car, and this is the first time this demon showed up. I don't know if I told this on Inquiries of a Reality, but because I can't remember, because I was in the middle of it as I was telling Shane about this.
Yeah.
So one night, well, as we were leaving, and she's like, Logan, there is a thing in front of your car that's she's like 6.5, 7 feet tall. It's got hooved feet. It's got like blackish, reddish, smoky eyes. It looks like and I was like, does it look like a minotaur? And I showed her a picture. She's like, yeah, except the top half is more human.
Yeah. Yeah, you did start to describe this on Shane's, I think.
did? Okay.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Okay. And so she's like, Logan, we have to go. So I was like, okay, fine. Because I'm big on, because she can see things and I can't. So stuff scares her like 30 times more than it scares me.
Oh, I believe it.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just go. All right. I don't want to push you here. Let's just go, because we don't know what we're dealing with yet. And I just don't feel comfortable with pushing it. So let's just go. And as we are driving away, she has his voice come through and says, you'll be back. I know you'll be back. And we're like, well, let's just take a break from the trail for a little bit. So we took a break from it. And then one night we're bored. We want to go see something scary, but we didn't want to drive far. I was like, let's just go back to the trail. We went back to the trail, and that demon is still in that same exact spot in the parking lot, just waiting for us. And so I was like, I try to see, because I don't have a spirit box. So I will turn my radio on and I'll turn it to an FM channel and see if I can get something that'll come through. Nothing, it wasn't really working. So I was like, I'll just shut this off and I'll just talk to him through the window and have you just reply. And she's just terrified, but she's like, okay, fine, let's just do it. I was like, okay, cool. So I started asking him questions, and I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, this is my land. He's like, I was like, how long has it been your land? He's like, forever. He's like, I own this land. And I was like, what else? I'm trying to think of what else I said. Because it's blanking on me. And I was like, so at one point, I know I asked, like, why are you here? Like, why did you choose this? And he's like, because it's peaceful among you peasants. And then,
Jesus Christ.
and then I was like, because I knew that there had been deaths on this land even before Carl and stuff like that. Because I remember doing a little bit of research on it. I found, like, 2014, there was a dude that's bones were dug up and found by some of the Lakeville South students when they were on an ecology, like a little ecology class thing that they were out over there. Some dude got shot up in the 90s and or 80s and got his body dumped over there. And I've heard stories that, like, just people happen when they go there, they die. Like, I think like 3 years ago, a dude shot himself in the head on that land over there.
Wow. Do you think that this entity has either something to do with the deaths or anything like that?
I do. And he actually answered it for me. And I was like,
did he?
Yeah. And I was like, so what are these deaths all linked to you? And he goes, yes, I call them home.
So does he keep them there with him? Do you
I
think?
think so. I think that's what he does. And I think Carl is actually being held there by him.
Okay.
So, and I was like, because I was just started testing him a little bit just to like see like if he knew who I was and stuff like that. And I told my girl, I was like, so I asked him, I was like, what's my full name? Like, what's my name? And he started listing my entire name and she started like getting scared. And after that, I was like, whoa, holy shit. So I went like quiet for a little bit and she looked at me and said, he is holding his hand out with his finger. Like, when like the movies where it's like James Bond, where she wants him to come to the bedroom and she does the whole finger come here thing.
Yeah.
He was doing that to her and saying, time for you to come home. And then I asked him, I was like, oh, what was it I just had in my head? I
I
was
don't
like,
know, but the minute you said that, I just got like a chill up my spine.
yeah, it still gives me goosebumps. And so after he did that, he was like, oh fuck, I just had it in my head again. He's like, I was like, why do you want her? And like, why do you hate her so much? And he's like, I could use her. She would be
Wow.
very helpful to me. And so I'm starting to think, I was like, and I looked at her, I was like, do you think, because I believe in reincarnation, because the whole like energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only be recycled. So I
Yep.
do believe after a certain amount of time on the afterlife, you do get reincarnated into another human form. So I looked at her and I said, do you think maybe in a past life you were involved in some really, really dark witchcraft? And which is funny because she's not like that at all.
Yeah.
She's like, I just only do good magic. That's all I care about. That's all I practice. So she's like, maybe that could have happened, but like, we don't know fully. And so we're like, okay, we'll just go home. Let's just call it a night. And as we're driving home, I kid you not, I see out of the corner of my eye, because I kind of look at her and she doesn't remember this part at all. Have you ever seen the horror movie Smile?
Yes. Yep.
She was smiling at me like that.
Wow. That's fucking creepy.
Yeah. And as she was smiling at me like that, I felt like my inner like energy, my inner soul, like levitate up out of my body. And it felt like I was towering over her. And then it went away.
Huh.
And so we start driving home and we're just going. There's a hockey rink right next to my house. So right as we get to the hockey rink, I was like, this is why me and her are like great for each other, but also we're gonna fuck ourselves really hard one day. I was like, well, I have the Ouija board. Why don't we just bring the Ouija board and go back?
What?
Yeah.
What? I think you said this on Shane's podcast too, and he was like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck are you thinking?"
Yeah. And so we get the Ouija board and we start going back. And it was funny because we just looked at each other and we're like, are we really about to do this? And we're like, yes, we are. And so we get there and I was like, hey, I just want to be respectful. Can we use the Ouija board here? And he's like, first of all, you're not being respectful, you little piece of shit. You keep coming back as I want you guys to never come back. And so we're like, well, whatever. We're like, can we use the Ouija board or not? And he goes, yes, you can, but I am not responsible for whatever happens to you. And my girlfriend looks out of my window and like the ranch style fences where it has like the one on top, the one directly in the middle, and then it has the one on the bottom, and there's no like middle post to like separate them.
Yep.
It was like that. And she's like, Logan, there is something over there that's sitting on the second rail and it is dangling its legs. And it's like, and after she said that, the demon went like, he wants to play with you guys.
Oh boy.
And after that, I was like, no, we're actually leaving this time. We're never coming back. But it's been a little while since we've gone there and I'm itching to go back. Like I just want to go back just to see what's going on there. See if he's still there or what. He's probably still there.
Probably.
And one thing I left out. I told him that I told him that I talked about this, like this whole story on Shane's podcast.
Yeah.
And he was like, why the fuck would you do that? He's like, I don't want anybody knowing that I'm here. Don't ever fucking do that again. And this is the third podcast that I've told the story on now. So hopefully he doesn't hear about it, but he probably will, because he says he's all knowing. But
Oh, all knowing.
yeah,
Have you ever considered going there during the day?
we did go there once during the day, and my girlfriend was being pushed around, shoved around, tripped. Something really trippy happened with the time that we went there during the day. So this trail is huge, like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a horse trail. I call it Horsehead Trail. I don't know if that's actually the name. That's just what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people take their horses there and stuff like that. So as we entered during the day, we saw that this old tree, and my girlfriend got a really weird energy from it. And she told me, do not touch anything when you're over there. So I went to go check it out. It was this tree that looked like it had been struck by lightning, but next to it was like a campfire that was recently lit, like probably a night or two ago. Like the charcoal, like the coals were still black. So it was just recently lit and put out. And I was like, that's weird. And I told her about it. She's like, yeah, that's really, really weird. And so we keep walking down. And then we get to, like, I don't know, around this weird kind of little bend. I call it the Conjuring Tree because it kind of looks like the Conjuring Tree. And we go around this bend and we go past the Conjuring Tree a little bit. And this horse, these two ladies, and they're both riding horses. And this one horse, she's getting used to it. But right as like that horse came near us, it reared up. So we don't know, it might be just because she was breaking in that new horse,
Right.
that maybe it was just, kind of weird, like just was uncomfortable, or if it saw something otherworldly.
Mm.
And when we came by, it reared up and got scared.
Mm.
And so that was weird because that horse, as it kept passing us again, it freaked out one more time. And then it was fine for, like, we started watching it a little bit. It was fine the rest of the way back until they were out of sight. And like, well, that was weird. So like we just kept walking, and then we reached this weird, like, open field, and it was probably around April. So like the snow is still kind of melting a little bit. So it's a little wet. There's still some snow. And we see this couple walking up to us. The gentleman is in front and the woman is in the back. Now, the gentleman goes right past us, doesn't say anything to us. But the woman, she's like probably 45 degrees if I looked over my shoulder. And she looks at us and says, don't go any farther. And we're like, why, what's going on? She's like, my husband stepped in a puddle. So, and then she said, so don't go any farther. And it's weird because we saw the husband's pant leg. It wasn't wet. Both of them were just normal dry. They were not wet. So we don't know if something came through and was using her as a conduit,
Or
told us
she
that.
meant that, or she was saying portal, but it was coming out as puddle. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out there, but
yeah. So that happened, and we started going. And the lady that told us that the puddle was around, she's like, it's up there around the curve. Just this tiny little curve. We got to that curve. There was no snow and no puddle. The puddle that my girlfriend stepped into was like 300, 400 yards from where we were at. So it was kind of weird that, why did she say around the bend and not all the way up here? Because there, where she stepped in that puddle, there was no bend. So we started walking back, and this entire time she's being pushed, shoved. We can hear things. I heard like women talking, women screaming, like we could hear all this stuff. It was the weirdest thing. So my thought, and I told this on Shane's, I think personally, and the reason why I think this, I think it's an Indian burial ground, because Shakopee there's the Dakota, they have a huge reservation over there. So back in like the 1800s, there's this road that goes right through Apple Valley called Dodd, and it goes right up to Fort Snelling. It was like their main transport to get goods to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And General Dodd one day got killed by a lot of Native Americans that just came over and attacked. I don't know why the attack was provoked. I don't know truly what happened, but all I know is that the Native Americans killed General Dodd. So I think maybe over there might be an Indian burial ground.
That would make sense. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're put on reservation nearby. Do you know? Have you ever talked to anybody from the tribe by any chance?
I had a acquaintance growing up. He lived on the street behind me. He lived on the block behind me. And I think his dad was either chief of that reservation, or his dad held a very high power in that reservation. And he is Dakota, but I was never able to talk to him just because I don't want to be weird and just hit him up and like, hey, is there like an Indian burial ground over here? No,
Yeah.
I haven't been able to officially talk to somebody about
Okay.
it.
All right. So do you think that's the only, is that attack the only one that you know of by
Yes.
natives on that land?
Yes, on our side, yes.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
I've been trying to think like what else could be over there. Like maybe there was like a huge witchcraft thing over there, possibly that just nobody knows about,
yeah.
or what. I've been trying to wrap my head around it, but what makes more sense to me is a Native American burial ground might
Burial
be
ground.
over there.
Yeah.
That just
Eh,
hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah, and they usually try and they always back in the 1800s they were constantly attacking people for getting too close
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to burial
Well,
ground. So
and this trip, like this Ritter Farm Park, it is always being like renovated. They're adding new stuff constantly because now that the park is split in half,
yeah.
because we go on the north side, but we went one night on the south side and it was just as creepy. We heard a girl yelling for her mom. We saw a guy all the way far up the trail that was like would stop. We'd look away for 1 second. He'd be closer and getting closer. Something growled at us as we were walking on one of the paths. I'll have to send you the photo of what I caught because
Yes.
it is like it's weird because it is super super creepy and it's like peeking out at us around a tree. And just for the people that you don't, if you ever want to go ghost hunting, you don't need a fancy camera. You can just use your phone.
Yep.
Your phone works perfectly.
Mm.
So
Have you ever heard, while you guys have been out on that trail, have you ever heard in the distance what sounds like your voice or her voice or somebody that you know's voice saying your name from the woods?
I have not.
Okay. All right. Because I was kind of thinking some skinwalker shit out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And it's funny. No, actually, sorry. We have, I guess Minnesota is known for the Wendigo. Like
Yes.
that's our thing here. But I have not heard any skinwalker things. I've heard we have some Wendigo sightings, but that's all the way in northern Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I don't, maybe there might be something down here, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. Um, yeah. I don't know. So I just because Indian burial ground, natives, the how far is the reservation from that trail, do you think?
Oh, like
Like mile.
20 minutes. So probably like, cause the traffic's not bad here. You can usually go like, if you go 60, you can get it like a mile a minute basically. So probably around like 15-ish miles.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, and Wendigo is a Native American folklore, so
Yeah.
um but you guys didn't, obviously, like you said, you didn't like encounter anything that could be a potential when to go thing out
There
there.
there was this one time that I was out there by myself on Friday the 13th years ago.
Oh, perfect day.
Yeah. And so I don't even make it like 25 yards into the trail. And I hear like a person come up. It's like it's not like 7 o'clock at night. No, this was right after work. It is 10 o'clock at night. Like I used to just go here by myself just to look at the stars, walk around, just ease my mind and just relax.
Mm-hmm.
And I look behind me. There's this dude going into the porta potty. So it's like 10:30 at night. Weird, because I've never seen anybody there like when I was there ever.
Right.
And I'm looking at him. I was like, this is a little weird. So I start walking back. And when you enter the park, you kind of go down like a little bit of the hill, then it flattens out, and then you go back up it. And so I was at the top of the hill, walking back down it to go up the other side back to where my car was. Right once I probably reached halfway going up the second hill, I looked behind me, and there is like a group of people with like red. Have you ever seen like like the night lamps that people use around their head when they're going like hiking or stuff like
Yep.
that?
Yes.
Well, there's this one guy in the middle, and he had like a white light, just a normal white light, and then there was like 15 people behind him that it was all red. And they were all coming up the hill, right? So I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I got in my car and I didn't even look back.
Do you think that was actually people with headlamps?
I don't know. I have no clue, because the thing for me is, why would they be out there that late? Like, you can get in serious trouble if you're here past, I think, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Like you can get in some serious trouble by the cops if they come by.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be anybody out there. I don't know why somebody else would be out there. But every time I go out there, it's just, this is the true crime side coming out
Yeah.
from me. Like, this place is like perfect if you commit a murder and need to dump a body.
Yeah.
Like, it is so remote. There's a huge pond in the middle. It's all, a lot of it's marshy. Like, you could easily just get rid of somebody. They also have a grate, like a sewer grate that you can, I can't remember if you can lift it up. You might be able to lift it up, but you could just,
I got you. So every time you go out there, something fucking weird happens.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So it's just,
So you had one. So out of these lights, you had one white light and then a shit ton of red lights. That in itself, first of all, if they were headlamps, why the fuck does everybody have a red light on? Like, that's kind of weird. Why are you out in the woods with a red light? Like, you can't see that great with a red light.
No, you couldn't. And it's like, it's pitch black out there, especially when you're in like the tree area, the trails that go through the trees. Yeah, it gets pretty dark. So that red light wouldn't do anything for you.
That's fucking crazy, man. That's some crazy shit. Also, if you are interested in committing a murder, that's a good place to, like Logan said, go dump a body. Please don't murder anybody.
No.
I would greatly appreciate it if you don't. Shit, man. So are you guys planning on like any other ventures, not only to the trail, but like what is the future adventures for you and your woman?
Well, we have to go to the Badlands to investigate the Badland Banshee, that cryptid, which I'm really excited about.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We have to go to Duluth, Minnesota, because Enger's Tower is allegedly haunted. There's an asylum up there that's abandoned, and one of the islands out there on Lake Superior is also abandoned. But I'm kind of scared about going to Lake Superior just because so many ships have sunk out there. So those waters are have a lot of souls in them. So
Mm.
I'm kind of nervous about traveling out onto the lake over there.
So you're gonna go
But
out on a boat out there?
we
Is that what
might,
you're saying?
we
Okay.
might. And then we plan on going to this another abandoned asylum that's actually open to the public. But the article that I read is a couple years old, and this asylum is on the north, like the very, very tip of North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 8 hours from where I'm at. And I have to find out more information because I don't want to go there, find out that it's stripped down, condemned, and I'm just drove 8 hours for nothing.
Right.
So
Right.
we also plan on going to Ed Gein's grave in Plainville, Wisconsin.
Oh, I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah. So I told her we should bring the Ouija board and fuck around with it on his grave, but she's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I was like, you're right, but it'd make an interesting story.
Well, good luck to you on that. Fuck that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, then by all means. Obviously you know the negative connotations that go with that, but all you gotta do is say goodbye from what I hear. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um
I it like I'm all for using a Ouija board, but you have to know how to use it right. And there are
yeah.
rules and
Mhm.
steps that you have to do. And a lot of people just ignore that and they think that there's no fucking around with something. But
Right, right. Well, I mean it's a board game for
yeah,
8 and up. So
yeah,
um a lot of people say, you know, the spirit box, like the radio where you a
yeah.
lot of people say that's the same thing as using a Ouija board.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm itching to get more parent like investigation stuff. I need to get so
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, are you into healing crystals? You should head on over to etsy.com/shop/healwithKristina and check out my friend Christina's sweet ass crystal shop. She's got a bunch of cool things in there. I was looking at it the other day, and most likely I will be purchasing some crystals. Just based, not because I'm fucking a spiritual bitch, just because I think they look pretty cool. Anyways, if you guys head on over there, she has um, items ready to ship, except for the crystal mushrooms. She makes those to order. Time is 1 to 3 business days, depending on the amount of orders. She currently has 28 different crystals and 3 different wire types. You can get on there. She has a whole bunch of crystal healing jewelry, homemade soy crystal candles, fun resin art pieces, and amazing handcrafted crystals. And if you go check it out and you decide that you like some shit and you decide to purchase some shit, you can enter the code, a coupon code, weird 125. Almost fucked that up. Weird 125. That's a capital W. The 1 is spelt out just like in the podcast name, and then the 2 and the 5. So if you use weird 125, you get 25% of off your purchase of whatever you decide to get from her shop. And I really hope you do and support her shop. She does amazing things, and she's an amazing friend, and she's an amazing person. So check it out. That so do you have do you do videos, or you guys just go out?
we just go out. I want to vlog them eventually and put
Mm-hmm.
them on YouTube, but I have so much going on from like because I upload 3 times a week. I'm actually gonna start doing 4. I'm gonna start doing like Rando Nautica horror stories because I remember that was a huge thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to start doing that. So I'm gonna be doing 4 videos. I'm coming out with a clothing line, and I'm just working Monday through Thursday for like 10 hours a day. So like just really busy as
Yeah,
for right now.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm
Mm.
working on a merch store too myself, so um there was a question that I had earlier and I kept forgetting, so I never asked, but I think so. When your girlfriend saw the dog running around when you first saw Carl, and she
Mhm.
said that thinks that he was trying to get you guys to help Carl.
Yeah.
Do you think Carl was wanted to like tell you guys like to fuck off? Basically, like get out of here. Like this could be like some bad shit for you if you continue to
That's
investigate.
that's what I'm thinking, because that one time where we went there and we were actually able to get to him,
Hmm.
he was like shaking his head like he was um what's the word? Like ashamed that we
Like disappointed.
yeah,
Yeah.
disappointed that we even came back. Like he's like,
Hmm.
guys, you know how bad it is here. Stop.
Hmm. So, and then you said when you were looking into like the land and stuff, and you're going to the fuck did the sheriff had you guys go out to somewhere?
Yeah, the Hastings plot place. Yeah,
Yes, and they said that, and he wasn't listed. There was no obituary or anything. You said right,
nothing.
and they said that either he was baptized or he did something fucked up. Do you think that maybe he was just not baptized, which is the weirdest thing to me, first of all.
Yeah,
But like if he did something fucked up, you'd think you would kind of it would be out there somewhere, right?
yeah. Sorry, I meant to say not baptized, but I might have said baptized, but I meant he was probably not baptized or he did something bad. And she also said, I was like, then how come there's no like, paper clippings of like what he did or whatever? And she's like, well, being that the town that you were in just started and was so young
Mm-hmm.
that maybe, and it was kind of, it was quite a bit, it was quite a while ago. She's
Okay.
like, maybe they didn't want that reputation to affect their town, so they just completely ignored it.
Oh, wow. And the fact that his um wife doesn't have one too, that's interesting.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It would
Yeah,
be great if you could talk to his daughter. How old is his
yeah.
daughter now these days?
Oh God, I can't remember. Old er.
She might not even remember, man. Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, it'd be interesting. We tried we sent her 2 emails and just nothing.
Yeah,
So,
that
and
sucks.
I didn't want to pull a Zach Baggins and just start going pounding on doors, because I was like, I don't want to be rude like that.
Yeah, that I feel like that's overboard,
Yeah.
disrespectful. But so do you ever do guests? I don't think I've heard you have a guest, but have you ever thought about having guests on your podcast?
I do eventually want to have them.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to figure out how to do it, like
Okay.
how I want it done. I
Yeah.
haven't really, I've looked into it a little bit, but it's just kind of on the back burner right now with everything that I got going on. But yes, eventually I would love to have, like, I would like to venture into like maybe having former killers on my show that just got out or something like that, or like
Mm-hmm.
police detectives that dealt with a serial killer, or just anybody that has, paranormal experiences, cryptid experiences. Like I feel like that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun. So right in my town there's a story of a little girl being murdered. It's like in a satanic ritual. And the guy that was convicted for it, he was 18, and I believe it was 1984 that this happened. So he's like 50 something in
Hmm.
prison right now. And
Yeah.
my sister wrote up a letter to send to him because I wanted to like get his side of the story, because the only stories that they have is just he was doing drugs and had a satanic ritual book or satanic religion book or whatever,
Hmm.
and he wanted to kill his girlfriend but couldn't, so he chose a 12-year-old girl. And that story just seems like too like lame to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's more like thought behind it, and I wanted to
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
no disrespect to the victim and her family or anything.
Mhm.
I was just intrigued to know. So
Yeah,
uh
that would be a very interesting episode.
mm, I think so too. I would probably have to go up to the prison
Yeah.
to do it. I don't know if they would allow him on on Zoom if he even agreed. So,
Yeah.
but
The
I think like the satanic ritual stuff. I find that super interesting, and child sacrifice is so fucked up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And they show that a lot in movies lately. Child sacrifice shit, and
Yeah.
it turns my stomach.
Yeah. There back to what you were saying before about the satanic ritual and the killer. There is this you know who Eric Decker is, right?
The name sounds familiar, but the anything to do with it is escaping me right now.
He was a wide receiver, I think, for the New England Patriots,
He
but
was a tight end. He was the tight end because
yes.
he got traded from the Broncos to the New York. Yeah, okay, to New
And
England.
I think, don't quote me on it because I might be getting my names mixed up, but I think it was him, and I think he's from Minnesota, and he grew up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is like 3 hours north of where I'm from. It's like 2 hours north of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, because I wanted to get this guy on my podcast, but like everybody that I've contacted to want to come on my podcast, they've just always just been like, no, I don't want to do it. So I was like, whatever, fine, fuck you guys. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm digging into this thing, and his name comes up. And I was like, what did Eric Decker have to do to this? Well, come to find out, Eric Decker, when he was in high school, was a part of a school shooting in St. Cloud.
No shit.
Yeah.
I
This
didn't know that.
I can't remember what happened. I can't remember the killer's name, but one day he was just walked in, started unloading on people. And I can't remember if Eric Decker, one of his friends, got killed in it. But yeah, Eric Decker was literally not involved, but a part of a school shooting. And what's really interesting is my great grandma. She used to live before she moved down near of the family. She used to
Mhm.
live in Royalton, Minnesota. And on the way to her, you go through St. Cloud. And guess what? You pass the prison where he's being held at. I didn't know that until I started researching his story because I always thought that prison was abandoned because I barely ever saw guards in the guard tower whenever I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really interesting that every year I was going by a dude that shot up a school that Eric Decker was a part, like Eric Decker went to.
Wow. St. Cloud, you said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Huh. Are you considering like reaching out to this dude?
I did, and he rejected me. I don't know
Okay.
why. I don't know why. Maybe just because it's like no money was put up. Maybe if there was like if like I maybe threw like $500 on his books or something like that, it would have been different. Or if I was a part of Netflix and I was making a documentary, who knows? But eventually,
Yeah.
I would really, really like to make an actual documentary about it with him and get Eric Decker's side of the story.
Yeah.
But then again, when you do stuff like that, you have issues with exploiting everything, and
The
that's
victims and all that shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That was kind of like my like kind of why I became kind of like got on the fence about talking to the guy up here.
mhm,
And my sister's like, "Do you think you should ask like the victim's family if they would be okay with that?" I was like, "Why?" And then the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't
yeah.
know if I would be too happy about something being out there on where they're talking about my dead daughter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Have you ever heard of Porsche Girl?
No, I have not.
Oh God, what happened to her was awful. I think it's Porsche Girl. There was this thing years ago where this girl, she got super hammered, stole her dad's Porsche, and just wrapped herself around a light post.
Ah.
And I think it happened in LA, and the LAPD, typical. They have to take crime scene photos, they have to shut everything down. And the family specifically told them not to release the photos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody in the department released the photos. And for years, she was getting made fun of online, like on Reddit and 4chan. Like they were just poking fun of her. And if you want to, you can look them up on Google and you can see them. It's bad. It's really bad.
That's ridiculous. So how that people first of all, that's how low you are when you
Mhm.
can't when you're sitting here talking shit about somebody who passed away,
Yeah.
regardless of the reason. So
What
that's fucking fucked up to me.
what what are your thoughts on the whole Titanic Titan thing that's going around?
Oh my god. So my son actually was the one that first like clued me into the Titanic Olympic thing, and I think that is 100% plausible. So you got JP Morgan, who's was either owned or was funding the ships, right? And so the Olympic didn't have insurance but had all these issues.
Hmm.
So they want to build another one. So they build another one, and it's said that they switched names. They made, so they were like, this is the Titanic, but it's really the Olympic. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I heard about this.
so, and then supposedly the where the crash site is, I don't know if this is why the submarine was going down there or what. So, but supposedly the propellers say Olympic on them, but they totally could have been taken off of the Olympic to be put on the Titanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Back then, because that could have been like a working part of the Olympic, but um, and then JP Morgan wasn't on it. And
Hmm.
then the fact that the JP Morgan bank was funding Epstein. And there's so many like Epsteins that have come through um throughout history. There's so
Hmm.
many of those kind of guys. So JP Morgan was the bank that Epstein was using. Not saying, because you don't know, a bank doesn't know what the fuck people are using their
Yeah.
bank for, the money that is what it's coming from. But JP Morgan just settled with Epstein victims recently.
Oh wow.
So the fact that with all that is and they are also funding BlackRock to rebuild Ukraine with um that they'll also be using American tax dollars, or they're trying to get it passed where they are going to be using American tax dollars to rebuild Ukraine. Which, why are are talking about rebuilding a country that is in the middle of a war right now? First
Hmm.
of all, but so that's weird. So when you like connect all these dots, it gets a little weird. But I wouldn't put it past anybody, because it was said that that first of all, the Titanic wasn't full, and
Hmm.
it wasn't fully staffed, as from what I hear. And like what's the freaking, like the tower, like the land person that's like land ho or whatever kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
I can't remember the name for it, but they didn't have like binoculars. They were using eyesight. So that's another weird thing.
Hmm.
And when they hit the iceberg, the captain randomly decided to go a little north and veer off their actual path. So that makes me feel like that was on purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then you got the submarine that just imploded down there. So
Do
that
you
was interesting.
do you think that submarine actually imploded, or do you think there's something else that might have been?
So, there's several things that I think. I'm not 100% on all of
Hmm.
it. So there's the first theory that I heard that I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I don't know. There's an app that tracks fish or sharks actually, and supposedly there's this huge shark somewhere out there that every once in a while will get a ding, and it's been in the Titanic sinking area.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
and it's like they're thinking like megalodon kind of thing,
Oh wow.
kind of big, and it just happened to be a ding right before it dinged in that area right before the submarine went, the day of the submarine going
Hmm.
into the water. But another thing is that I think it's really weird that um it couldn't be tracked to, because there's only went like 2 miles below the
Hmm.
surface. You know what I mean? Which isn't very far technically. I mean, obviously, for a normal person to just swim, that's
Oh
really
yeah.
far, you
Yeah.
know. but I think it's weird how we can track everything in outer space, but we can't track anything 2 miles underneath the surface of the ocean. So I think either it was whatever that they had something on somebody that was going down there and they purposely were bombed, or it's this whole big thing for money again, where it they put it down there and they made it either explode or implode on purpose, and all those five guys are somewhere alive right now. You know what I mean?
See, me and my girlfriend's theory is that because the Titanic claimed so many like third passenger souls, and you have this submarine come down with five extremely wealthy people, billionaires. Maybe there was a whole spiritual thing. Maybe the ghosts, the spirits were just upset that they were coming down there, and maybe they tampered with the electrical stuff and like threw off all the electrics in there, and they just imploded, and then they're down there now, I guess.
That's an
That's
interesting theory.
yeah.
I mean, they were using fucking like what that was using for navigation and stuff was so like cheap and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's another reason why I was kind of like leaning towards the theory of they purposely put it down there. Like, it was what they were never supposed to be like down there, but they're supposedly this is another thing that's weird, is that there's videos of that they were taken with their phones while they were in the submarine and they were looking at the Titanic, you know what I mean? And so like they can send these videos. How do they get those? Did they find their phones or were they sent? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? First, and like I walk into fucking Walmart and I can't get a signal inside
Yeah.
Walmart. So how are these guys sending videos from fucking 2 miles below the surface? You know what I mean? But so that's another thing that I was just like, oh, that's kind of odd. They can get these videos out, but I don't know, man. My mind goes in so many different directions with so many things. I do think that it could be a possible false flag where they are using it to distract us from something else. What that something else is, I'm not entirely sure right now. But I do know that they do that a lot. And when I say false flag, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But a false flag is usually something that I'm sure you know, but just for people listening that are unsure, it's usually something that is done on purpose to distract the general public. That's what a false flag is. But yeah, I could see that as another possible theory. Because the energy doesn't die, like you said, it just recycles. So I could see that as being like, they go down there and they're like, yo, what the fuck, we were sleeping, now you're down here. So I could see that happening. What do you think? So I think it's funny. So I'm gonna ask you while you're on here, what do you think about flat Earth?
Oh my God. I knew, I had a feeling you were going to bring this up. Oh,
I talk about it a lot on this podcast. So
yeah, I think it's stupid, but which is funny because earlier in the show I said you have to be open-minded and everything. So kind of just, but I think the reason I think it's dumb is just because why would it seems like a lot of work to try and keep that theory alive. And what I mean by that is if you look at the US, they have, pictures of the Earth on NASA and stuff like that, but so does the Russians and so does the Chinese and the Japanese. So why would we band with countries that already kind of hate us to keep this, like, to keep a lie that the Earth is actually round? You know what I mean? Like, that seems like a lot of work, and why would they go through that? And even if you go back in time to like Greek philosophy, they all said that the 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 Earth was the center of the universe, but they eventually retracted that statement and said, no, the sun's the, you know, middle of the universe. So like, why would they lie to us about the Earth being flat? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. So this is again I'll say, for all the everybody listening, I'm not married to the idea, so I'm not a flat earther, but I do find the topic intriguing. So this is what I find interesting that kind of like gets my mind working. Is one thing is Universal, before there was ever any pictures of a globe, when they were making movies, you know how you got the globe and it says Universal across it.
Yeah.
They had a globe, which it's not really known that the Earth was technically a globe. We knew that we could get from sea to sea and stuff like that. And another thing that I find interesting is that we don't fly over the Pacific. You know what I mean? So if you're coming from so say you want to go to Asia, somewhere in Asia, and you're flying from Los Angeles. You go Chicago, New York, and then Europe, and then you're in Asia. So I find that kind of sort of interesting. And then you got like the Malaysia, like that one a few years ago.
Malaysia flight 370, I think is what it was.
Yeah, and it went missing over the Pacific.
Yeah, yep. That's I just watched the documentary. Gone. Yeah, I just watched the documentary on it on Netflix.
Yeah, and so that's also interesting. And I think the moon landing's fake. I don't know where your stance is on that.
I see we were racing the Russians at that time because it was during the middle of the Cold War. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was faked. Yeah. Just to prove to them, like, you know, try to just scare them a little bit. Because we were making all those bomb shelters and everything over here. So it could have been faked. It very well could have been faked.
Yeah, I'm on the it was definitely fake. Like I'm 100%, like for me myself.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't expect you or anybody else to believe in exactly what I do. So I think 100% that the moon landing was fake. They destroyed all of the technology to get us back to the moon right after. So that's kind of weird to me. And there was something else that it's escaping my brain right now. So in like all the like this mythology talk, when they talk about the universe and stuff like that, I think when they speak of the universe, I think they're speaking of ourselves. So I think we are like I think we are the universe ourselves, and we're just experiencing ourselves as a human being, just for a little bit. So I feel like whatever entity, what you know, how you get whatever group you want to call it, Illuminati or fucking lizard people, which Illuminati technically and most likely is called the lizard people. I don't know. I fucking there's so many like theys or them that I can't really think of. I lose track of a lot of it. But I could see like like we only use like 35% of our brains. And it makes me think that like a lot of this technology and a lot of these things and all these distractions to get our mind thinking about this, our mind thinking about that, fucking movies, TV shoved in our faces, fucking, oh my God, this fucking happened, you know? And I feel like that is meant to dull us. And then, I think getting away from God and all that stuff, although I don't 100% believe in a biblical God, I do think there is a creator. So I think, where was I going with this tangent? So I'm just like, I'm completely skeptical on like so much government, anything. And I think NASA is basically a fake program. That's where I'm at with that. Again, I'm not 100% like, yes, the earth is flat. Yeah. And that's not like saying like the earth that has an edge and we're gonna fall off or anything like that. I think this. So hear me out. I think there's a possibility that we're basically like an ant farm, I
Okay.
guess, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're in a dome, or maybe we're in a cup, and the sun just comes over the opening of the cup, and that's how we
Yeah.
see it. I don't know. But and it could still be a globe. So,
Yeah.
like, I am open. I'm very open minded. So I do. Um, I like to listen to everybody's opinions
Mhm.
and
See,
discern for myself. So
I'm still because I never really like my whole thing is the paranormal and true crime. That's just what I do.
yeah.
I'm just now venturing into cryptids and conspiracies. So like I still have to do a lot of research on conspiracies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the flat earth conspiracy came out when I was in high school. I thought it was funny, didn't really pay attention to it until I did an episode where I just, just scraped the surface of what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I still do need to do a lot more digging on everything. The funny story about the flat earth, there's this crazy. I worked at this gas station one time, and it's not in a rough part of my town, but it's not like the nicer part of my town.
Yeah.
And this dude came in, literally ranted for like 30 minutes on the earth being flat. And like those memes where it goes when you're like 5 yeps, 7 oh no's, and like 20 that's crazy, and he
Uh-huh.
still hasn't got. Bro, that was me the entire time. I was like, wow, that's awesome, crazy. And I was just like, when can this crazy guy leave me alone? Like, I don't want to hear about this right now. I'm at work trying to but that was when I didn't really pay attention to conspiracies. So
Yeah.
now I'm just getting into it a little bit. And
Yeah.
some of these theories, like I don't think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
No, I don't. Right there with you.
I think a guard looked the other way, let a prisoner slide in, stabbed him, and they staged it as a suicide because he was only in there for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he was put in PC, protective custody for people that don't know, which means you aren't a part of the general population, you are like in your own little enclosure with other pedophiles, sex offenders, rapists, those kind of guys.
Yeah,
So, and since that's he did sex trafficking, he did, deal with minors. Even if he was PC, I'm pretty sure somebody could have got to him. If anybody can find you if they want to. So,
for sure.
I think he got killed in prison, and well staged it as a suicide.
Yep. Yep. I'm on that 100%. Um, but and going back real quick to the flat Earth too, because so the first time I ever heard it was, I want to say like 2012 ish, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe I don't know, but it was a guy that I worked. So I did tree work, and it was a guy that I worked with, and another guy that I worked with was like, this guy believes that the Earth is flat, and I was like, because I remember learning in school that when you learn about Columbus sailing and stuff like that, that's what they believe. They believe that the Earth was flat, and when I heard that, this guy was like, people still fucking believe that these days. I was like, that's fucking crazy. Because back then, like I didn't look into, I never had looked into any
Mm-hmm.
conspiracies, and all the conspiracies that I heard, I was just like, that's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. And the flat Earth,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like you, in that your episode where you talked about it, I was like, that's fucking stupid, dude. That is the
Yeah.
stupidest fucking shit I've ever fucking heard. I was like, I was like, don't talk to me because I feel like I can't have a conversation with you because you
Mm-hmm.
believe the earth is flat. Like, I feel like I can't talk any like sense to you in any kind of way. Um, but I didn't say that to this guy, but like
Mm-hmm.
that was my thinking.
Yeah.
And so I did say, I go, hey, you think the earth is flat? He goes, oh yeah, the moon landing was fake. And I go, and that's all you're basing it off of? And he's like, well, there's other things. And I go, okay, well, like what? And he's just like, the fuck did he say? He's just like, well, the government is keeping us from knowing our true selves. I was like, all right, I'm done with this conversation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the more I look into stuff, the more I realize that, the government has never really been working for us, and that's what pisses me off the most.
The government tries too hard to play God.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And it's sad because don't get me wrong, this is going to sound really really bad. Some of us are sheep, but most of us aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by sheep is like the people that like everything they see on social media or on TV, the news, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's it right there. This it's obviously on the news." Like they can't like it would be so weird if they just didn't cut and like paste things together to make it seem what like make you see what you want to see. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just like some of us are sheep and some of us are like, you know what? This we pay attention to the weird shit that happens. And
Yes.
a lot of us don't, and they give into the government being God.
Right. Right. And it showed a lot with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And there was people um yelling at people that didn't wear masks. There's people telling people that didn't get vaccinated that so vaccinated people were telling people that didn't get vaccinated that
Mm-hmm.
they hope that they die. Like my
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend had death wished upon her because she didn't get vaccinated at her work by a coworker.
Yeah.
And I was the only where I worked at the time. I was the only one that was unvaccinated. I still am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of the older guys that worked there was like, "Well, I hope you get sick." I was like, "Why would you hope that anything negative would happen
Yeah.
to somebody else? Like that's such a fucking fucked up thing to say to somebody."
Yeah.
And then he's just like stared at me and goes, "Well, get vaccinated then." I was like,
See, I was living with my grandparents at the time when COVID rolled around. So I and my mom, she was an ER nurse at the time. So she saw all of the bad shit that COVID was doing. So I was like,
"Right,
I will get vaccinated. I'm like, I've been vaccinated my entire life. I'm totally okay with getting vaccinated. But the only like I never wanted to wear a mask. The only reason I wore a mask was just because I didn't want to cause any unwanted issues with people that I came in contact with. Like I didn't
right."
want to be yelled at. I didn't like I'm just like leave me the fuck alone.
Right.
Like
And like go into stores, like these people are just they're being told to make sure you're wearing a mask. Why fight them about it? You know what I mean? It's not
mhm,
like they are making the rules. They're just enforcing them, which
yeah.
I mean, I get and that's another way of being a sheep is you're just going with the rules and enforcing the rules that are being made up. But
Yeah.
like I never wanted to wear a mask either. I thought fucking wearing a mask was the stupidest fucking thing in the world.
Mhm.
And my ex-girlfriend ended up being like, just fucking put it on. It's not gonna hurt you. I was like, well, if I wear it too long, it's gonna hurt me. I
Yeah.
was like,
Like
I'd like to breathe fresh air. Like that's what I want.
and I saw now this is a huge conspiracy that I found. So
Hmm.
just stumbled upon it on Instagram. So don't take my word for it.
Okay.
I saw that COVID was actually supposed to be a chemicalized weapon and they're actually going to use it for war and they accidentally had an outbreak at their
Hmm.
facility and that's what caused it. And then I saw another post which this is also kind of funny when COVID was really bad. They ended up like there was a poll of like all of like the illnesses, the main illnesses of that year.
Hmm.
And it said like the flu was like at 10%. Like it dropped all the way down because people were getting diagnosed with COVID.
Yeah.
So it made me wonder is like maybe most of those COVID deaths and stuff like that might have just been influenza.
Good point. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
we know that it did leak from a lab that came out. I think that came out during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. when that
That's so
was all
funny.
over the place, and then they're like, "Oh, by the
Uh,
way, it was leaked from the lab."
yeah.
um, what else? Oh, COVID's always been around.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just happened to be that this time it was really bad. But like I don't blame anybody
Yeah.
I don't hate anybody for getting vaccinated or anything like that or whatever. I mean, you want to be safe and
Mm-hmm.
so
And another thing that kind of threw me off is I was like, because remember when Ebola came out in like 2014?
yes, yes. So there was a woman that just came back from Africa that
Mm-hmm.
lived here in Maine, and she was all over the fucking Maine, all over our local news about how she's not quarantining and this and that and blah blah blah. And she got bullied so hard about it, and she ended up having to move out. She moved away from the state because she was a doctor, so she was like, "Fuck this place," you know what I mean?
Oh wow. Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but her and her husband were like harassed daily because she didn't quarantine when she came back from Africa because of the Ebola thing, and she got tested. She didn't have it,
Mm-hmm.
and um, she did like everything that she was supposed to do when she landed in
Mm-hmm.
America, and it was oh, dude, it was like 2 weeks straight of the news just talking about how she didn't fucking quarantine, and she's out at a grocery store, and I'm like, oh my god.
That's crazy. And when I was doing my research on Ebola, because I don't know how somehow stumbled across Ebola and I was like, I wonder how lethal it is. Well, I found out that it kills 80% of the people that get it. And I was like, well, how is this compared to COVID? And I looked it up. I think, don't quote me on it because it's been a really long time. I think COVID was like around 21%, but I could be way off because it was just so long ago. But I know I do remember saying that Ebola was way more lethal than COVID.
Yeah, Ebola is super lethal.
Mm-hmm. And it just makes me wonder, like, how did Ebola not survive, but this did?
Yeah.
Like, how were they able? How was Africa and the African government able to control Ebola, but the Chinese government and with all of the technology and how advanced they are over there couldn't contain COVID. So it really pushes my theory on maybe it was supposed to be a chemical weapon and it just got out and they didn't weren't able to develop a kill switch quick enough and it just somehow escaped.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes a lot of the times actually mainly I kind of some I basically think that it was planned, like the whole thing. And um for what reason, I don't know, but maybe to like I think a lot of it has to do with like separating like politics, just
Mm-hmm.
separating like well, we know these people are going to fall in line and we know these people aren't, you know what I mean?
It could have also been population control.
That too. I mean, Bill Gates is on the record for saying if we do a really good job with vaccines and healthcare, we can depopulate the earth by fucking
Mhm.
30% or something like that in
I
within the coming years.
When I lived in Atlanta, there was a guy that lived with us. He was a Chinese foreign exchange student. He was going to school at the University of Rochester in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong. And he said they just now were able to lift there's a child ban over there where families could only have
Have
one
one.
child. Yeah, for
Yeah.
one child. And they just lifted that right as he moved over here to go to school and stuff like that. So it was maybe that whole COVID thing was able enough to speed up whole that whole process so they didn't have to wait so long.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Something to think about, that's for sure. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to talk to somebody from that area that lived through all from lived through COVID, just to like
Mhm.
pick their brain about it.
Yeah.
Um,
And with how their government is over there and how strict they are and what they can see and not see, it'd
mhm.
be really, really interesting. Like our Chinese foreign exchange student, he said they don't even have TikTok over there. They have a Chinese version of TikTok.
Yeah, it's
So
just
they can get rid of Western like input and stuff like that.
I gotcha. Communism,
Mm-hmm.
fuckers. Man, I hope we don't fall into communism.
I hope not.
I,
There
I think
was
there's too many. I think there's too many patriots for that to happen anyway. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Bro, if you go after Texas, I swear there's no government that could take down Texas.
I
Texas
I
is a
believe you.
whole, or even Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Hell no.
uh, holy shit, dude. We got 2 hours.
This has been the longest one I've ever been on.
Has it?
Yeah,
That's dope.
new
That's dope.
record.
First time for everything.
Uh-huh.
Actually, so I was my last episode ended up being 3 hours because we did two parts because his phone died because he was
Mhm.
doing Zoom through his phone. And then we just picked up and I just kept talking to him like it was a whole new episode
Yeah.
because we did it 2 different days. And it ended up being the 3 hour episode. I was like, oh, I don't know if anybody's gonna actually listen to this because it's a little really long one.
Mhm.
Because I like to keep it right around 2 hours. So
Yeah.
I mean, a few minutes after 2 hours is fine. But
Mhm.
actually, I had somebody say they just messaged me today. He goes, the last episode was really good. I was like, you don't think it was too long? He goes, oh, it's perfect. I was like, I feel like 3 hours is a long fucking podcast to listen to.
See, cuz I do my so my not my so my show solo. So I try to keep it around like 20, but as of recently cuz I write all of my stuff on note cards,
Yeah.
so it takes me, especially my true crime videos, there's so much information, so I try to cut it in half. But
Hmm.
the other day, the one that I just released today, I was like, "You know what? Let's just roll with it." I ended up making it like 45 minutes long ish, around 40, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
And like I had to write down 20 note cards. It actually wasn't that bad. I think today was a really good episode.
Okay. I'll have to listen to it then for sure. Because I did notice that you stick to like a 20-minute or so
Yeah.
um episode for your episodes, but a lot of your recent ones I haven't. I was scrolling through them on Spotify
Mhm.
and I came to Flat Earth. So I've been listening from Flat Earth because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's got a Flat Earth one. Let's hear what he thinks. And I was like, and he's like, fuck this fucking thing. This is the stupidest conspiracy. I was like, oh, that's an interesting take. I like
Uh,
it.
See, and it's so funny because like usually because like how you interview people and you guys can bounce back and forth about jokes. I don't have anybody to do that, so I do a lot of cuts.
Yeah.
And that was probably my favorite episode to do, just because I was able to find stuff on Bob, on
Yep.
Kyrie Irving, videos on Millie Bobby Brown. I was able to put those into the videos just to make them more entertaining because that's when it comes to my show. I like, with all the bad shit that's going on in the world right now and how just the way everything is, when people listen to my show, I want them to feel like they can escape reality for 20, 30, 40 minutes just to relax and not have to worry about anything. Whatever they've got going on, can just drop it and laugh and have fun on my show. That's just what I try to push.
I like that, man. I like that.
Thank you.
I like to do that as well. So I feel like you have been very comfortable
Mhm.
throughout this whole thing. So I like to make sure that everybody that comes on is comfortable with talking and everything. So um, but since we are at 2 hours, if you don't mind, I would love for you to do your intro before you like plug all your stuff, before you plug your show and stuff and your Instagram and all that. So if you don't mind, just
the
do your intro for everybody.
the intro to my show.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to the Rainy Day Horror Show. I am your host with the most, Dusty McBalls, a.k.a. the Certified Cougar Hunter, a.k.a. the man with the biggest testicles that are just scraping the crust of this very earth. And on today's episode, there we go.
That's awesome. My son thinks that's the most hilarious fucking thing. Every time
I love that.
Every time I listen to him, he's just like, Jesus Christ. He just starts laughing. The very minute you start talking, he's just like, this guy. So now just let everybody know where they can find you and find your show.
My Instagram is at the Rainy Day Horror Show. I am most active on that. My personal is Dusty McBalls. You guys can send me whatever horror related memes, stories, whatever you guys want. And if you do have a story, I will tell it on my channel for you guys. I'm eventually coming out with a clothing line, and I'm doing it different than most people. I have it where I want it more one-on-one. So I make it from scratch for you, customize whatever you want on it, and I will give it to you. So it's more personal between me and you. I want to have that relationship between us. And what else is there? Oh, and then I just upload 3 times a week, Sundays at noon, Tuesdays at noon, Thursdays at noon, and then probably not this week, but next week on Saturday at noon, I'm going to be doing my Rando Nautica horror stories. And you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, basically all of them. I'm on all of them. So, yeah.
Dope, dude. Dope. All right, guys. So that is the show. Definitely check out the Rainy Day Horror Show. If you don't, then fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. I get like not a lot of podcasts are for a lot of people, but at least give it a chance. That's all I ask. Just like you gave me a chance, please give Logan a chance. I'd appreciate it. But with that being said, you know where to find me. It's wheretheweirdonesare at gmail.com if you want to be on the show or if you just want to tell me a story. And then where_the_weird_ones_are on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, mainly like a lot of people that are these days. I got a Facebook, but you all know that if you listen to the intro anyway. So with that being said, Logan, I really appreciate you coming on and telling me your stories. The trail story was I'm getting your name correct, right? It is Logan. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, I just said Logan like 5 times but I think the Dusty part is throwing me off. I knew it was Logan, but whenever you say Dusty McBalls, I'm like, is his name Dusty?
No, just a stage name.
But anyway, so I appreciate you coming on, and your stories are super fascinating, and I wish you a million failures so that you have the most success in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun coming on here.
Thanks,
I've been
man.
thinking about it all week, so I've been so excited.
Thanks, man. This was a good one, and I hope you all have enjoyed it, and definitely check his shit out. So with that being said, have a good day, have a good night, and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.